Go. All right. What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to another episode of Unlocking Excellence with your main man, Coachy Eric Schwafel, here with you. And y'all, I have a very special guest today, one of my best friends, Sam Bouvier. What is going on, brother? How are you?
I'm doing good. How about you, Eric?
I'm doing pretty good, man. I'm excited about this. I've been waiting for a while to, one, have the podcast, and then two, be able to have you on it. So I'm excited. But before we get into our conversation, y'all, if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the podcast and know when they're coming out. Be sure to like the podcast, right, so we can reach more people. And if you haven't already, be sure to rate and review the podcast. It doesn't take but just a couple minutes. I would love to see it. And if you have any questions, if you want to hear on any particular topic, be sure to let me know, and you can email me, and we will include that in our list of different things. So today, y'all, you heard Sam just a few seconds ago. Sam is going to tell us a little bit about what he's done to unlock excellence in his life. But before we get there, you got to know who Sam is, right? Like, the way that I like to introduce people is like you're a third person in on the conversation. So Sam and I met way back in the day now, like in 2003, 2004, and we went to the same high school together. Slidell High, class of 07, met in 03, and son of a bitch, man, I remember it. We had 6 out of 7 classes together, and the last class of the day, I can't remember if I went up to you or you. I think you came up to me.
Yeah, it was me.
Okay, yeah, you came up to me and you were like, so we have 6 out of 7 classes together. I was like, yep. He was like, I think we should be friends. and I said, okay, then let's do this. And
that's how it happened.
That's how it happened. And I think we had at least 2 to 3 classes with each other all throughout high school. Every semester, at least one, I know that much.
Yeah.
But I think it was along 2 to 3. So we became friends. We have a pretty tight knit group of guys. There's about 5 or 6 of there's. I know there's at least 5. Sometimes there's a 6 in and out. I saw all of our old pictures too. It was crazy. But anyway, so we went to college. After college, we roomed together for a couple of years, and now Sam is doing his freaking thing. Okay, so Sam is an engineer. Sam just recently bought his own home. Sam just recently got a hell of an awesome job. He had a job, and then he decided to move companies and doing hella great. He has recently built a fence outside in his own backyard. And for those that think like he built a fence, why is he mentioning this? He built it. He and his friend, his roommate, ended up building that. And it's crazy amazing. Just the time and the dedication it takes. So Sam, I know I covered a good bit, but then I missed a good bit. Tell us a little bit about you.
So first I want to just take a minute to say thank you for having me as a guest, and like I'm just grateful that you feel like I have something to offer to your listeners. Just very grateful for that.
Absolutely.
So I mean, as you said, like I'm been your best friend for over a decade now. I'm an engineer. More specifically, I'm a transmission line engineer, so I design power lines. And I'm not sure what else there is much to say about myself, honestly.
Well, yeah, I was curious if I missed anything, because we got that, and I know for a fact it's not so much about the expanse of things, the width, but you're very much a depth guy. And that's what we're going to dive into for a second. So I wanted to make sure that if there's any outside scopes, like anything on the outside that we need to cover.
Did you mention that I've been a client of yours for a few months now?
No, I was going to get into that. That.
So one thing to add, like to go more in depth on you speaking on how I'm a more in depth guy. So I have throughout the years, kind of on and off, worked with Eric. He's a coach and a personal trainer, and he's been in those times. I've learned that Eric really knows his stuff. And then relatively recently, I discovered that like I need more consistency in my training and coaching. So I reached out, and especially with the whole COVID nonsense going on, I realized I would need some help and support to stay on track for being healthy and productive in both my health and in my business life. So that's when I started working with Eric. Yeah, it's been really helpful. Yeah, so in part of like me being more in depth, I guess, like I'm not sure how to put it in the words, but yeah, I'm just not sure how to put that in the words.
Nice. So yeah, that's something I wanted to highlight was it was at the beginning of COVID, right? So I started doing more of an online thing and more online training, more online coaching. And Sam, I think, was actually the first person to get on board with me. And it always means something, man. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but it always means something that you support me as far as training goes, right? Whether that's because we're friends, like you said, I know my shit. So thank you. That made me feel good. But having that support is a big thing. So Sam said, hey, you know what? I'm going to get on it. He's got to do his work from home. He can't really go out anywhere where we were at and how things were going in Louisiana. So he needed to get into a routine, and we were able to help him out with that accountability, making sure that he stayed consistent. And although there wasn't a huge weight change, there's been a huge body composition change. And I got to say, the mentality and the way that you approach things has changed as well from that point to now. So tell us, what are not only some of the results that you got, but some of the changes that you've noticed in your day to day?
Yeah, so I know your coaching is more than just personal health. It's also like mental and business development and just a whole range of skills. So it's really helped me in all of those areas. And I already kind of started this journey before I started coaching with you, but like one thing that's really helped with you is like the accountability. Like you're always throughout the week, buzzing, how are you doing? How are you doing on these things? You making any progress, et cetera, et cetera. Having that reinforcement really helped me stay on track, because it's not a quick thing that you can do in a week, 2 weeks, in a month. I mean, you can, but that the results aren't going to last. But I've noticed throughout the past few months, the results are lasting, even with the ups and downs of my availability to devote time to working out and all this stuff. Yeah. Nice.
And what has it really taken from you? What have you had to change up from not being consistent, kind of on and off, to becoming more consistent? What changes, what thought processes did you have to go through in order for those changes to take place?
So in health regards, like eating healthy, obviously everybody struggle, but I've noticed I've drastically improved the quality of food I eat. One major habit that helps that is a food journal and tracking what you eat and how much you eat of your macros and whatnot. That in itself just kind of holds you accountable to what you're feeding your body. And that's just huge. Like nutrition, like if you start eating healthy, like you feel better. Right. If you're eating junk, you won't even know like you're sluggish or you don't feel good. But when you start eating healthy and drinking water, you'll notice difference if you're paying attention. And feels good.
And it happens quick too, right? Like you start noticing, so it might take like 3 to 5 days. You start feeling good, like blah, blah,
Mm-hmm.
blah, whatever. And then you F up and you eat whatever it is that you eat, or you don't eat even F up, you just eat whatever. And then you notice like, oh, I feel terrible with
Yeah.
whatever this food is.
Especially fast food. Like you go a week of eating, cooking from home and vegetables and drinking a lot of water and no sodas, and then going fast food after a week, and like you'll be like, this doesn't taste that good.
Yeah. It's like soda too. I still enjoy soda, but soda is one of those things where you go, I don't know, let's just throw a number out there, a month without soda, and then you taste it, and it's like, this is either
Yeah.
sweet or it just doesn't taste right to me, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Soda. If you actively drink more water, you'll want more water. You stay away from salt, then you'll start noticing things are way too salty.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my God, this is disgusting. And,
Especially down here.
yeah.
People love
Yeah.
their salt down here.
Yeah. Yep. Salt and
Okay.
fried foods.
Yeah, you ain't lying. All right. So what was it so you said start eating better quality food. For me and for you, we're pretty simple and direct guys. Was it just about doing it, or did you have to convince yourself? And if you had to convince yourself, then how'd you do it?
Yeah. So, I mean, I kind of mentioned this a little earlier. Like I've been on this journey for a while. Like I've worked with you on and off. So this whole getting in shape and eating healthy thing wasn't brand new to me. So like I've kind of gone through the process years ago on trying to eat healthy and how to eat healthy.
Mm-hmm.
But one thing that I remember that I learned was like, if you try to take on too much, because it can be a lot with trying to eat healthy, if you got to set yourself up for success. Like you got to make it easy on you to eat healthy. Because if it's not, you're not going to stick with it.
Yeah.
Because I mean, fast food's fast food because it's convenient. So that's why everybody eats it mostly.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to try to set yourself up to where healthy food is convenient to eat, and that you have healthy snacks to eat for when you all of a sudden are hungry when it's not mealtime, or you still need to cook your chicken or whatnot. So you really have to set yourself up to eat healthy. So like meal prep, it's a real thing. People do it because it works. You spend a few hours cooking a whole bunch of food. You prep your food in your containers, so you just grab it out of the fridge, warm it up if you need to, and eat it.
Yeah.
I'm not so big on meal prep myself, but I like salads, and salads are easy. So what I'll do is I'll just cook a whole bunch of chicken, and then I can just make a salad whenever and just throw some chicken in there.
Yeah.
I eat a ton of salads, but that's because I like the salads. So that's one thing I learned. You have to learn what healthy food you enjoy, because also if you don't like it, you're not going to stick with it either.
Yeah.
So like brown rice, I can't do brown rice. Brown rice is disgusting to me, so I don't even try with brown rice.
Right.
I accept white rice is good enough for Sam. So, just things like that.
Dude, there was so many. I was gonna just do a motion of getting thrown back like that, because there was so many bombs in what you just said, and you laid it out eloquently. Like, you've got to set yourself up to succeed. You've got to set yourself up to succeed, and it looks different for all of us what that means.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Healthy eating can be very, very overwhelming when you're starting off. So to take on too much is going to end up toppling you, and it happens time and time again. My one of my favorite organizations, Precision Nutrition, they say 1% at a time. 1% every day. Get 1% better every day. That's it. And having the meal prep, having the food available, figuring out what works for you. I mean, You want to get into coaching? No, I'm just kidding.
So one thing I also want to build off of, sometimes like starting off can be daunting. You don't know how to begin to eat healthy or whatnot. And this kind of applies to just all in life, at least in my eyes, it does. Like just do it. Like when you think about doing it, just do it, because you'll learn as you do it. And if you just spend too much time thinking about it, you'll give it way too much power, and then you'll think it's way too daunting to do it. You just got to do it. Figure it out as you go.
Don't make a mountain out of a molehill.
Yeah.
Totally. There's an old saying for business coaches is, jump off the cliff and figure out how to build the parachute on the way down. Launch the course, be a couple steps.
Maybe you shouldn't jump off a cliff and figure out how you're going to.
It's not taken literally, of course. It's not taken literally.
Yeah. So, obviously throughout life, you got to know, when not to just do it. But most of the times, just do it applies all the time.
Yeah. Especially when you hire somebody too, right? Because you're looking for their advice and you want to get what their expertise and the problems that they've had. And if it doesn't work, right, then they can give you another option, but you got to be able to implement off the bat in order to see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah. And also you kind of mentioned it a minute ago, like it's different for everybody. Like everybody's path is different and going to be unique. So don't feel like you're not doing what Eric is doing, that you're doing it wrong. No, just going on your own path.
Yes. And especially with social media and with platforms, I see it a lot in the coaching world. Keto is the way to go, or this particular way of doing things is the best way to do it. It worked for me. Look at my results. That's why it's going to work for you. And don't get me wrong, the cookie cutter approach works for so long, but then it's dependent upon the person's needs and what their demands are. So
yeah,
everything works, but everything doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah. So one of my personal beliefs, these diets and whatnot, they work if you follow them. I find, at least with myself, I think with the majority of people, like sticking to a strict diet, it's very hard. So my approach, I try to, I don't follow a quote diet. I just eat better. So I don't try to hold myself accountable to eating zero sugar completely. I just find that's setting yourself up for failure. At least for me, that's how it is. Now it works for some people, and that's great.
And this is a great place to segue. So what that really depends on is your values and what it is that you value, right? So for most people, they say, I want this diet, I want this strict plan of eating, I want this rigid plan that I have to follow, because if I have the freedom, then I'm going to do whatever it is that I want to do. And that's just because they value one thing, they value that control aspect over the freedom to make their own choices, right? So what are some of the values that you hold in your own life and you hold close to you?
Like just values in life in general.
Yeah.
One main one that I've been trying to do is just be present. And yeah, be present, be open, not be judgmental. Just try to be positive. Yeah.
Those are good. Okay. So before I ask the next question, are there any others that you want to put in there? Open, present, non-judgmental.
No, those are the main ones, really.
Sweet. So what have those provided for you so far? How long have they been important? Like, have you really been focusing and executing them? And then what have they provided for you?
These have kind of grown over the past 8 or so years, something like that. They've really kind of changed my mindset. I really feel like I'm a better person, honestly.
Yeah.
And it's part of like, it's a continuous journey, like being present, like as just being human. It's not the easiest thing in the world to be present.
Yeah.
So it's a constant struggle per se. And throughout my journey, like I've noted, through reflection, I've noticed like, oh man, I was super present at this period in my life, and this other period in my life I was not present at all. But yeah, it's a journey.
And that's where that non-judgmental piece comes in too, right? Where I wasn't present here, but I was present there. It doesn't mean that you're bad or that you're this or that. It doesn't mean anything unless you give it the meaning.
It just is. So
right.
Yeah, the non-judgmental aspect. So like, try not to judge other people because you haven't walked their shoes. You don't know what they're doing, what they've gone through, what they're going through. But also, don't be judgmental of yourself either. Just notice things, acknowledge things, and accept things as they are.
There's a big non-attachment portion to that too, where it's not this or that. We've said it a couple times. It just kind of is. I mean, it doesn't mean it's bad or it's good. It's just, this is the way it is. So I get to choose how to respond to that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. And that makes the biggest difference, I believe, right there, because then you're not reacting, but you're acting out of a place of sovereignty, out of presence, out of openness, out of acceptance, out of non-judgment, right? Non-attachment, because it's like, okay, these are the statistics. It's very objective, and one of my coaches, I'm going to get the phrase wrong. I used it the other day. It's, you can't see the forest through the trees, or it's something like that. I can't remember what the exact thing is, but essentially when you're in the shit and you're in the forest, you can't really see where you're going. You can have an idea, but you can get lost very easily because there's not that outside view. So having a friend or having somebody who's there and that can help you with that outside view makes all of the difference, all of the difference.
Because looking back on my experiences, like those periods of time where I haven't been present, I thought I was at the time, but I wasn't. So I can clearly see that now.
And then even learning that, like giving yourself, that's a good one too. Giving yourself grace.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it was okay. Forgiveness that happened.
Yeah.
And seeing it kind of as it is. Any other ones?
No, not off the top of my head.
Cool. So you said the journey started about 8 or 9 years ago. And this has developed physically, right? You've gotten better as far as choosing your food, maintaining weight, maintaining shape, getting in and out of fitness. And it's also mental and emotional, how it's hitting as well, right? So silly, it might sound like a silly question, but were you perfect when you first started?
Oh, hell no. No, not at all.
So
far from it.
You would say that you stumbled, you would say that you messed up, that you made mistakes and all that kind of stuff, huh?
Oh yeah. I'm still not perfect, I still feel like I'm far from perfect, but I'm in a much better place now than when I was 8 years ago.
And would you say too, because I say this and I ask this because I know people that are listening and people that will listen, when they start something new, there's this idea that it has to be perfect, right? Like I get on my bike to ride it. If I fall down, I'm a failure. That's not what it is, right? They're learning experiences.
Yeah. So I was kind of thinking about this earlier, like one of the questions you gave me on like the template was like question about failure. And I was like trying to think of a recent failure, but like I couldn't think of one. And I was like, no, it's like I've failed, but I think it's more of just my mindset on things. Like I actively try to have a positive outlook on things. And when something bad happens, I turn it into a positive.
Mm-hmm.
There's always a learning experience to be had in every experience.
And so that's not common. That's not normal.
Yeah.
The mindset that you have right there. It's been
Yeah.
developed. You know what I mean? Like, because some people might see something and they're like, fuck it, I don't want to do it anymore. Like, this is terrible. I hate the way that I feel. So over time, what's helped develop that?
To be honest, the major points in my life that have helped that have been heartbreak, honestly, in relationships. When they don't work out, that's a failure in some people's eyes. But from each relationship that didn't succeed, I've learned with reflection on, what happened in that relationship, and I've actively improved myself in areas that I felt I could improve on. And without that relationship not working out, I would not have seen those issues with myself that I needed to work on.
Yeah.
And then also kind of other areas like at work. Say there's a failure at work, but really once you fail at work, then all right, that doesn't work, and try again. Or in my management experience at work, I had some issues with that, and then I realized I was part of the issue that I needed to fix, and would not have realized that without those problems. Like, for instance, in my management experience, I was really just kind of thrown into a management role without any tutelage on how to be a manager. And I'm an engineer by trade, so I'm not managing people. Doesn't come naturally to me. And one of my direct reports, he was more difficult to deal with, and we really butt heads really hard in the beginning, but we both worked through that, and now we're friends. Like, I call a guy up right now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. And it took a different type of mindset, looking at something from a different perspective and a different angle, and the willingness to do that too, not just bend to my rule or compromise. It's, let me see it from the other person's shoes. Let the other person see it from my shoes too.
Yeah. So to kind of build off of that, like, and go back to the non-judgmental things, like when I was fighting with that direct report, like, I was like, why am I fighting with this guy? Like, what is he thinking? Like, because he's not a bad guy. I had to go through the process of figuring out his side of things and where I wasn't communicating correctly, or how to deal with all that.
And that's some deep work.
Yeah. Instead of just automatically jumping to, oh, well, he's wrong and I'm right. Because, that happens way too often in the workplace.
Happens all over the world. Yeah. But yeah.
Because there's always two sides to every story. And most of the times, either you're both right or you're both wrong. it's usually not the case of one's right and one's wrong, but
Yeah. Your side, my side, and the truth.
yeah.
And the truth, like your side, my side. If y'all can't see, I'm doing index finger, your side, ring finger, their side, and the truth is right in the middle. And it will say "F you" if it's not what you agree with. The truth doesn't care, you know. So speaking on failures, speaking on the non-attachment, one of the questions that I have for you is, how has a failure or an apparent failure set you up for later success? And do you have a favorite quote unquote failure?
Yeah, I mean, I have 3 favorite quote unquote failures. You know, I've been heartbroken twice, and I've come out stronger, a better man from those heartbreaks. And that would not have happened if my heart hadn't been broken. So, you know, those experiences had to happen. And then with that direct report, there was one time where we got in a yelling fight at work. And that was really kind of the turning point for me to understand, like, I actively needed to learn how to manage people. It just didn't come naturally to me. So ever since after that, I, you know, started trying to teach myself how to manage people. And I definitely improved in that area.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. That's huge. That's huge. And then you said you had 3. Did you include the 2 heartbreaks in the 3?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that on here too. I mean, we've talked about that privately, and we've both had our share of heartbreak and our lessons from it. So I think it's important that the people listening know that too, I mean, that's like the human condition, is we learn through our suffering, right? That's one of the ways that we grow, is through our suffering. If we choose to, because you can definitely choose to stay with your head underground and in the shit, and you'll still make it. So with that, yeah, like I just saw the other day on TV, a new show that was coming out, and it highlighted what most people would seem as not the greatest habit, you know, like the hoarder shows and stuff like that. We highlight the ugly so that we can feel better about ourselves. And sometimes we need to see how the ugly can be beneficial for us as well. So with that, we've talked about mindfulness, we've talked about work, we've talked about goals and growth, setting yourself up to succeed. So one thing that we talked about was keeping the time frame pretty tight to keep you in line with your day. So I definitely want to have you back on in the future, but to kind of start winding down and getting more into the question side of things, what is a book or books that you've been given most as a gift? And yeah, what is a book or books that you've given most as a gift, and why?
Before we go to the questions, one correlation I kind of want to make, like, between my business life and my health. So one thing I also learned is, like, if you're unhealthy, you're sluggish. So I'm not as productive at work. So I made it a point to try to get back to being healthy, so I could be more productive throughout my day, and therefore more productive at work. So I just wanted to tie those 2 in together real quick.
And that is huge. That is huge. And I'm starting to make that connection more and more for my clients. Like we mentioned a little bit earlier, Sam just transferred jobs, and he has done significantly well for himself. And just knowing and being able to empower himself as far as what he's capable of, what he can deliver, what his value is, and what his worth is, and being able to translate that and being able to ask for that too has been significant. And I think we both established that comes from being confident in yourself, but also taking care of yourself and knowing what you're worth.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm confident in my skills because I know I have the skills.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's also a little bit more than just confidence and whatnot, and
Oh yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. Without going too deep into it, you know what I mean?
yeah,
Like you got to know your worth in order to ask for it. And then if you
and then you
know,
have to ask for it.
yeah, and then you have to ask for it.
It
Right.
ain't gonna be given to you.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Okay. So
Questions, books.
yes.
Um, so The Power of Now
I knew
by
that.
Eckhart Tolle
I knew that was going to be.
changed my life.
Yeah. How so?
Yeah. So that book really put me on the mindfulness path. So that I read that book 8 or so years ago, and that really kind of started off. But with that said, it is not an easy read. Like the first time I read it, I didn't even finish it. But yeah, slowly but surely, I've finished reading the book, and I've read it a handful of times ever since then. Um, yeah, mind changing.
Power of
If
Now, Eckhart Tolle.
if if you're open to it, so it's a little bit different. So I could definitely see how if you're not ready for that kind of mindset, that you would just think it's hogwash because it's a different book. But
So Eckhart definitely has the more mindfulness, the more Buddhist approach to things. So for like traditional Western religion, which would be like Christianity, Catholicism, Protestant, Baptist, it's a little different. It's more on the mystic side, I would even say too.
yeah,
Like contemplative Christianity, there's more diving deeper within yourself rather than what you can do externally.
yeah.
For sure.
But I mean, if you can read it and you're open to it, it's a good read.
Hell yeah.
Another book,
Yep.
The Last Lecture.
That's good.
I forget who wrote it. It's not a happy book. It's essentially about a professor who learned he has cancer, I believe, and starts on his journey for his last lecture. It's definitely a sad book, but it definitely kind of helped me appreciate life more and live in the present instead of in the past or the future. It's a good read.
It's a good book. Little brown book.
Yeah. And yeah, so honestly, I haven't read too much. That's one of the things I'm actively working on, is reading more books. But those are my two main books.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
What is an unusual habit or an absurd thing that you love?
I don't know, man. That's an unusual question.
I know, isn't it?
Yeah. I like Star Wars a lot.
This is true, yeah.
And yeah, I really like, the main movies, they're good, but I really like the more in-depth stuff, like some of the cartoon series are really good, and some of the expanded universe books are really good. Recently, I've been reading the Thrawn trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
It's really good.
I remember you telling me about that. Y'all were listening to that on your trip.
Yeah.
I'd be so curious. We've known each other for so long. I'd be so curious if my love for Star Wars would be where it's at if you weren't in the picture, or vice versa.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because we definitely play off of each other. I mean,
definitely.
I'm going to embarrass both of us here. It's not really embarrassing, but when we hung out a couple weekends ago, we were both wearing our Jedi robes and we fought. So
yeah. My lightsaber is better than Eric's.
It is. I'm not gonna lie, it is. I had to use a massage gun as a fake gun. Um, so, what advice would you give to a smart, driven college student about to enter the real world? And what advice should they ignore? So, what advice would you give, and what should they ignore?
Mm. Do things, do experiences. Yeah, like don't be afraid to do things. You'll learn through experience.
Okay.
So just do it.
Just
whatever you want to do.
What should they ignore?
Negativity, any negativity, ignore it.
Get rid of it.
Yeah.
Good.
Don't need that.
Don't need that. Get that shit out of here. All right, I got a couple more for you. I think actually 3, so a few more. When you feel overwhelmed or unfocused or have lost your focus temporarily, what do you do?
Yeah, so that actually kind of happens a lot because I have a lot of different things going on with work and my personal life and with my house and whatnot. So I actively have a lot of little things going on that I feel like I need to do. So one thing that really helps me is writing things down and acknowledging that I can't do everything.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll make lists. I don't intertwine home life and work life in different lists.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll write down lists, especially when I've noticed like I'm not being productive. I'll write down a list. A lot of times in the morning when I first start work, I'll write down a list of what I need to accomplish. And as I accomplish things, I'll check it off. And if I really feel like I'm just not being productive, I'll, go back to that mindset. It's like, I'll be thinking like, oh man, I got this. How am I going to do all this? And I was like, just do it. Just what do you need to do right now and do it.
It's funny how that
really helps me.
Comes to you,
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what's up. Just do it. Just get it done.
Mm-hmm. Yep. That's really helped my productivity.
In the last 5 years, what have you become better at saying no to? Distractions, invitations, what new realizations or approaches have helped?
So I've noticed that honestly, you don't need to listen to everybody. You don't need to give your time and attention to everyone that comes into your life. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, sometimes you have to get stuff done and you can't focus on what other people are trying to make you focus on. So, sometimes you just got to shut them out.
Yep, that's true.
Kind of vague, but I mean, it's true. You don't need to give your attention to everybody that gives you attention.
Yep. We are, this is probably going to be on for next week. So the week of the 10th. And what I have this week, as far as the podcast, I recorded right before we got on, but everybody is after your attention.
Yeah.
All marketers, all businesses, your friends, your family, they're after your attention.
Yeah.
And your attention is your most precious thing. And you've got to be the gatekeeper of your attention because your attention is your energy. And you're like a fucking battery. If you don't take care of yourself, then you're already going to operate at a lower percentage than you need to be. And then you're just going to get drained by other people who are looking to take your energy and attention.
Yeah. And to go off of that, like that includes your family and friends. Like you don't have to give your attention to your family and friends.
100%. And it's all within context. I mean, there are times where I'm crazy overwhelming to friends and family, and then where family and friends are really overwhelming to me too, so it's all that ebb and flow.
Yeah. And of course, if you're
Uh-oh, Sam, I can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I think you're good now. Now you're off again.
Ah,
All right, now I can hear you. Let's see, one more time.
all right. So, with that being said, if somebody's going,
Is it good? Is it good now? We're having some technical difficulties, folks.
to have internet.
I guess it's just cutting in and out on us. Let's try one more time because I can hear you good now.
Yeah. So, all right. Let's try this again. Um, you don't have to give everybody attention, especially family and friends. But if they're going through a tough time, they probably do need your attention. So it's all being mindful of the current situation.
Yes. Yes. The generalizations that we normally use in order to categorize things seems to fit less and less as we move throughout time. Like
Mm.
it just let them do this. It's like, no, 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 no. There's a lot more to it than just allowing something to happen. You've got to really dive deep and understand it in order to address it.
Yeah. Like you can allow things to happen, but you can also create things to happen.
Mm.
You have power in your life to do what you want to do, whether you know it or not.
That's probably the golden nugget, man. That was it right there. You have the power to do the things that you want in your life, whether you know it or not. Boom. That was one of the nuggets. All right. So with that, I think we have just one more question, and then I'm going to let you go.
Yeah.
If you could have a gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, metaphorically speaking, getting a message out to millions or billions, what would it say and why? It could be a few words or a paragraph. If helpful, it can be somebody else's quote. So what would you have on a billboard that could be potentially seen by millions upon billions?
Be happy. Make jokes. That's it.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it.
That's part of it, or that's it?
That's it. Yeah.
Be happy, make jokes.
Yeah, because especially as you get older, you get way too serious and you're not making enough jokes when most of the times things aren't that serious. Even in the job and whatnot, make jokes.
There is, oh God, I love hearing that sound. It's like music to my ears. There was something that said kids normally laugh. I want to say it's 100 plus times a day. Maybe it's 300 plus times a day.
Yeah.
And adults laugh less than 10.
Yeah. Everyone should actively be trying to be more like a kid sometimes throughout the day.
Hell yeah. Have fun with life.
You look at kids, they're having fun. You should try and replicate it.
That's what I'm talking about. I like that. All right, Sam. So is there anything that I should have asked you that I didn't?
Nope. Nailed it, dude.
All right. Awesome. And is there anything that you want to say to our listeners before we get out of here?
Again, I'm grateful that you feel like I have something to add to your listeners, and I hope that they got something out of this.
Awesome. Good. I think they did. I definitely did. We've been friends for over 17 years now, and I still learn whenever we're together. Pretty much every interaction. You help me see things in a new light, interpret things, and be a little bit, I wouldn't say softer, but a little bit easier, because I can be pretty hard on things, critical on things.
But another thing I want to add, so throughout this journey of mine, Coach Eric Schweffel has actively helped me throughout my journey, throughout all of these years, whether he's officially been my coach or not. So, I mean, you are a big part of my personal development. I appreciate it. Thanks, brother.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm glad that I could be a part of that, man, for sure. I think we made a good decision being friends at the science table at the end of the first day.
Yeah. Yep.
All right. So with that being said, thanks so much for being here. Thanks so much for listening, y'all. Sam, I love you, brother. And I'm not just saying that because I tell people I love them. I love you deep in my heart. I have a feeling we're going to know each other for the rest of our lives. So with that being said, Sam, motherfucking Peter Bouvier, you're unstoppable. You to who is listening right now, you're unstoppable. And I hope that you have a great day.
All right, Eric. Talk to you later.
Talk to you later. Peace.